Welcome back to The Mentors. This is Vadim.
And Sergey.
And you're listening to a weekly segment called the 5-Minute Pick-Me-Up, where we tell you stories to motivate you for the week to come. And this week's story was inspired by Steve Jobs, actually a video that we saw of him. I think he was probably in his late 20s at this point, experiencing some pretty significant success.
I think he was in his 30s.
Oh, okay, probably in his 30s. But the crux of the video was about how there are no rules out there, right? There's no blueprint for everything. That kind of humankind creates everything as we're going along. What he said explicitly is, once you discover one simple fact, that everything around you was made up by people that were no smarter than you, that you can change it, that you can influence it, then you can start creating your own value. You can start building your own things for the world to use.
All right, Steve. We get it. We get it. You feel like everybody can make a big change and we all have unlimited opportunities. He must have been in a very optimistic state when he said that. But let's actually take a look at what's behind those statements. What's behind the man that made those statements?
And hopefully we can come up with a more helpful way to think about this and how we can inspire ourselves to put ourselves in the frame of mind that Steve was in when he made this statement. Because as you'll see as we uncover over the next few minutes, there's a reason why Steve thought this way, and it's okay that maybe most of us don't inherently think like this, that we don't naturally approach the world with that frame of mind, but there are things we can start doing to kind of shift our lens and actually start looking at the world through similar eyes as Steve Jobs.
So Steve grew up in the 60s in Northern California at a time where Silicon Valley was really just getting started, and so he was surrounded by the feeling of possibility. And the man was adopted. He happened to be blessed with two parents that never told him that he couldn't do something. If he had an idea, if he had a dream, his parents always told him, you can do anything that you set your mind to, whatever you can dream up of. And that kind of unbridled self-confidence is what led him to start the business that ended up turning into Apple Computer when he was just 19 years old, and gave him the confidence to drop out of college and pursue that business full time.
It was also, by the way, the same confidence that allowed him to secure an internship with Hewlett-Packard after making a cold call to the company and actually reaching the CEO. And he got that internship, I think, while he was still in middle school or high school.
I think he was like 14 or 15 years old when he made that call.
He was super young, but clearly he was empowered to believe that he can do whatever he wants.
So the word that is a recurring theme in Steve's upbringing in childhood and then young adulthood is confidence. I keep thinking about that word over and over again, and it's confidence that led him to be the person that could recognize that he can create his own rules and create his own products and serve the world without listening to adults, so to speak.
Now, part of the reason why he was able to be so successful is he always seemed to be able to get what he wants. He always seemed to be able to get his way. Now, if you actually read his story, especially as he kind of matured into the business leader that we all now know, his early days were a little bit rocky. As a matter of fact, there's countless examples of when he was building his company, experiencing some early success and traction where when things didn't go his way, he would throw tantrums. He would cry, literally cry in the office and in meetings until people either agreed with him or until I guess enough time passed where he could move on to something else. But that
sounds almost like a spoiled kid who doesn't get his way, right?
Yeah, exactly. But for better or worse, it was this very confidence that helped him become the man that he became. But there are other ways to learn that confidence and to be successful. And that reminds me of when a few years ago, I was thrust into the position of being an instructor at university and created an entrepreneurial course at a school here in New York. And after the first few weeks, there was something that I noticed, which was that I didn't have the answer to everything, but despite that, because I was in a position of authority, because people assumed that I did have the answer to everything, I had to figure things out as I went along. And I made the decision to do exactly that. So after every class, for example, the way that I handled the situation is we would have a survey, and I would adjust the course as I was going along to make sure that the end result was value for the student. Right? And so over time, by focusing on building that value, by creating the best possible class and program, it was a self-fulfilling prophecy where I was really confident in the product that we came up with. But it first took me putting myself into that position of authority, even if, let's say, I didn't have as much experience teaching in the past.
So what we're saying is that some people are lucky enough to be born with this innate confidence, or sometimes they're lucky enough to be brought up in a family or in surroundings and circumstances that give them unlimited amounts of confidence, but that's not something that everybody is lucky to have innately. And Vadim and I think that it's definitely possible to learn it. We've witnessed it in others. We've learned it ourselves. You can't be confident in everything, but the sooner you realize that if you spend time building certain skills, putting yourself out there, taking risks in a way that forces you to be the one to make decisions, to be decisive, the faster you will get confidence about making those decisions, and hopefully you can start emulating some of the people that are your heroes.
Now, here's the good news. When you're young, you might feel like you have to be successful by a certain age, but the older you are, the easier things get, and you start realizing what you're really good at, and that confidence does really come to you. But if you're still struggling with it, we are giving you a challenge this week. If you find yourself in a position where you, let's say, might not be fully ready to be a decision maker, but you're given the opportunity to be a decision maker, say yes to it. Say yes to it and force yourself to then have to figure things out as you're going along. Trust that you're going to be able to make the best decision possible for the well-being of all the parties involved, and that you probably will be successful, because in the end of the day, no one knows with 100% certainty if they are making the right decision. It's just that some people are willing to put themselves in the position to make a decision in the first place.
So with this 5-minute pick-me-up, we hope your takeaway is that even though confidence might not be innate, decisiveness and the ability to be decisive is what ultimately breeds confidence and what will allow you to be successful in the end. So get decisive this week. Shoot us an email at sergey@thementors.co or vadim@thementors.co, or hit us up on our Flick group and let us know how you were decisive this week. And hopefully over time, that's going to make you a more confident human being and you can channel your inner Steve Jobs.
That's it for the 5-minute pick-me-up. Have a great week, and we'll see you on Wednesday.